Biz Stone is back at Twitter. We've talked a lot in a lot of different scenarios here about, Twitter is not doing the projected growth that they'd hoped. The share price has dropped and spiked back up and dropped again. But overall, a lot of volatility at Twitter, but it doesn't seem to be going away. So it seems like there's a foundational point of Twitter where the people that are on Twitter are not going to be stopping using Twitter because it still has a place in social. It's very different than Snap and Facebook. So Biz Stone coming back in, he's rejoining since his 2011 departure. At that point in time, Twitter was privately held and Stone did retain a significant amount of equity. So he still has a vested interest.
And didn't Jack Dorsey leave and come back as well?
Jack Dorsey did. He was the CEO of Square. And then he came back to be the CEO of both Twitter and Square.
So far, nothing's changed.
Sorry, Foursquare or Square.
I think Foursquare.
Foursquare.
Yeah.
So upon the news that Biz Stone is back, shares bumped up 2%. A little background on him since leaving Twitter. He started Medium, which I did not know.
Interesting.
The publishing platform, which is pretty popular and growing in user base.
I think financially, though, they haven't found a way to make money out of it. But it
sounds familiar.
Yeah.
Then he started Jelly, which is a user-generated Q&A where users are answering questions, which I'd never heard of, but apparently they were just
about it. You know about Jelly? Yeah.
They were just sold to Pinterest this year. So he's definitely been busy. He's still in the game. Clearly has fresh ideas.
Well, and the good thing about Twitter, they had some unexpected Q1 results that, it was like 6%, but their monthly and daily active users bumped up. That shot their stock price up 14%. And then Mark Cuban recently just bought a bunch of Twitter stock, which increased it another 5%. So, I mean, what's it been, 4 straight years of down numbers every single quarter,
right,
and the stock shareholders being up in arms about how bad they're doing. But Q1, finally, they have a little bit of positive.
But I think that's almost a reflection of the market will say, we think Twitter's going up and up and up forever. And the share price shoots up really high. And then after you start seeing like, well, that's not sustainable, and then the projections start to get a little more realistic. So now I think they're at a level where people look at it and say, okay, at this price point, I'm a buyer if it goes too much lower. So I think now it's almost leveled off a bit where I do think you'll start seeing Twitter behave like a properly priced company, which most are. But that's where with something like a Snapchat, the volatility could be crazy because who knows? Is it 10 billion less? Is it 10 billion more?
Yeah.
Like it could spike either direction.
And with their, I think, digital upfronts or Twitter upfronts, they launched their 24/7 sports network. They talked a lot about their different live streaming rights deals that they have at their disposal now. So that's also one reason, I guess, Twitter's trending in the right direction. And then Mark Cuban, the reason he bought stock was the AI capabilities. They talked a lot in their upfronts about the AI potential of the platform, which I guess he said if they can do that, they can do some good things.
Sure. So Biz Stone in his new role will be focused on culture, both internally and externally. I guess
Biz Stone and
the
Jack
culture.
Dorsey, they started Twitter essentially?
Yeah, I think there were 4 total, but those 2 are still involved. But here's a quote from Stone upon his
And who's making these
reemergence.
decisions at this level? The board at Twitter brings back CEOs and stuff?
I mean, the board would decide who needs to come back and help with things, but in this particular case, he has no obligation to come back. But as a major shareholder, it's in his best interest to try to come back. Plus, he's just sold his company and he started Medium, and what's next? He can start another venture, but after 2, maybe he looks and sees like, hey, I've got all this money riding on Twitter. It's still relevant. Can I come back, focus on culture, make it better for the employees after a huge retention problem? It seems like every 30 days there's a major executive leaving Twitter.
Yeah, and after, a half a decade of it just being Twitter, how can you make it cool all over again for new users and a new generation almost?
But I want to end on a quote from Biz Stone on his re-emergence. Twitter has woven itself into the fabric of our global society. The world needs Twitter, and it's here to stay. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in his new position.
Well, you can talk down on Twitter all you want, but there's just no other platform. The one thing they have no competition in is the real-time access, and we always use the famous Egypt uprising example. But when you're watching the Super Bowl, there's no other platform to be able to engage with people on a second-by-second basis than Twitter. So they have that market carved out for them. It's just a matter of being able to capitalize on it.
And they got Trump.
Yeah, you got the leader of the free world.